Coming up on Mountain News this morning, students in every district across the Commonwealth are back in their classrooms, including the ones who live in areas devastated by flooding. And some Eastern Kentucky high school students get the chance to explore possible careers in the medical field as they plan for their future.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It's 6 a.m. on this Friday morning. I'm Keaton Hall. Dakota Makris is off this morning, but we still have Brandon Robinson. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing all right, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well, too. I know it's your Monday, so you might be just a smidge tired this morning. But
I'm just getting the gears turning.
That's right. We'll get you through it. We'll get you through it. So, again, it is Friday for the rest of us. But, again, we're going to be seeing a cool morning across the region. So bundle up as you head out the door. Let's take a look at UVA-wise first. And it's pretty cool, pretty quiet, pretty calm over there this morning. Clear skies for most. 43 over at the Lonesome Pine Airport over there in Wise County. 42 just up the road in Clintwood. We have a new cold spot this morning down to 41 in Irvin. I'm telling you, they're going to make it into the 30s, at least the upper 30s at some point before 7. 50 still the warm spots there in Jackson and Somerset. A lot of 45s from Hazard to Manchester to Harlan to Middlesboro, Jacksboro as well. 46. Prestonsburg, Moorhead, and Ashland this morning. Coffee? Yeah, grab some. You're going to need it. A little extra to max when needed. And your donut forecast for the next dozen hours. It is going to be so nice out there today. Cannot encourage you enough to get out and do anything outside you've been putting off due to the heat. Cut the grass, sit out on the porch and have a cup of coffee. Go see Evan at the Chicken Festival and do some guest weather and get you some good old fried chicken down in London today. It's going to be a fantastic day to do any of that and all of that. So get out there and enjoy this afternoon. Keaton.
Thank you, Brandon. Governor Andy Beshear gave an update on the flooding response during his Team Kentucky news conference Thursday. 32 service connections are still without water. That's down from more than 34,000 on July 28th. Kentucky State Parks are housing more than 330 people. More than 400 people are in 149 travel trailers across 7 state parks. More than 225,000 tons of debris have been removed. FEMA has approved more than $71 million in grants for more than 7,500 households. The Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund has now raised more than $9.7 million. The death toll from the flood remains at 40, but 2 Breathitt County women are still missing. 60-year-old Vanessa Baker and 29-year-old Nancy Cundiff are both from the Lost Creek community. Governor Beshear says Kentucky Emergency Management and Kentucky State Police are continuing to search for the women. Anyone with information about their whereabouts is asked to contact KSP Post 13 in Hazard using the number you see on your screen. Recovery continues in many counties across eastern Kentucky after the historic flooding as Congress works to avoid a government shutdown. WYMT Washington News Bureau's David Aid asked some Kentucky lawmakers how they plan on helping the state's recovery.
After the rushing water dried up, after the presidential visit, the cleanup and recovery in Kentucky continues.
They're suffering mightily.
Kentucky Congressman Hal Rogers tells me he wants more federal money to help people in his district recover from historic and devastating summer flooding.
So I'll be seeking money through the appropriations process for the various aspects of recovery. We've got to get our people back on their feet.
Congress is still grappling with passing a short-term funding bill to prevent a government shutdown through the midterm elections. I asked Senator Rand Paul whether he believes that presents an opportunity.
And what you see in here potentially to help out folks in Kentucky who have been devastated by the flooding that happened this summer.
One of the things I've recommended is we have spent all this money on COVID that's now just sitting around. And some of that money I think could be diverted to disasters, and we proposed that as well.
Senator Mitch McConnell's office reiterated the senator's comments that he will, quote, continue to use my role in the Senate to advocate for extensive federal aid for Eastern Kentucky. Lawmakers have until September 30th to pass a short-term funding bill to avoid a government shutdown. But if additional funding for disaster recovery is not included, there could be more opportunity before the midterm elections. This week, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the Senate will return to Washington in October. In Washington, I'm David Aid.
Students have now returned to class in all of Kentucky's 171 districts. Among those resuming classes this week, Riverside Christian in Breathitt County. The school was heavily damaged for the second time in 2 years, and the staff says they've worked extremely hard to get the students back on campus. Principal Meg Asher says they hope to provide all the tools and resources for their students who may be struggling.
We have a full-time counselor on staff right now who is going to be helping. Kids are allowed to just kind of walk in. All of my staff are on board and ready to go and are kind of watching for the red flag trigger type things.
There are still jobs that need to be completed around the school, and school officials say they're working every day to continue fixing what they can. High school students had the chance to dive into medical careers at Hazard Community and Technical College yesterday. They were able to pick 3 of 7 sessions to attend. Some sessions included dentistry, physical therapy, and pharmacy. We talked with potential employers at the event who said this was a great way for students to decide what they want to do after high school. And they say students should not be afraid to find a career they love.
Pick up a telephone or knock on some doors and knock on dental doors, knock on physical therapy doors and say, I'm interested in this. I would like to shadow you and see exactly what you do.
More than 60 students from 4 Eastern Kentucky high schools attended. HCTC also wrapped up its Spirit Week bashes. Each campus had its own Spirit Day bash. The technical campus had its on Tuesday. The Lee's College campus was Wednesday, and the Hazard campus celebrated yesterday. Those with HCTC say students could play games and learn more about what the college offers.
We did cancel this in the beginning for the flood, but it wasn't canceled for the semester. We wanted to see the students, get to meet them. I mean, like I said, this has been a while. This has been a long time coming, and we're happy to be back.
A college representative says they had at least 400 people attend the Spirit Week bash. For some college coaches, it pays to get fired. Universities have paid millions to get them to leave, some making big headlines. Our national investigative team's Lee Zurich digs into big bucks and big buyouts.
The amount of money paid out to this one college football coach,
I think the college athletic game is out of hand.
Helps paint a picture.
Those numbers are way off. It's unfair.
Of a system that one college professor calls out of touch with reality.
It's startling. It is startling. We are going to use Blackboard.
Sean Lee Alexander teaches African American studies at the University of Kansas, a school that's a basketball powerhouse, coming off a national title, but for decades has tried to match that success in football. Since he arrived at the university 15 years ago, the school has paid out nearly $35 million in buyouts.
You're looking good, Coach.
The fired coaches include Les Miles, who in 2 years won just 3 of 21 football games. In 2021, the school fired him. He was set to receive more than $7 million in a buyout, but a settlement shows it was reduced because of inappropriate conduct at his former job at LSU. He got $1.9 million, a buyout of a disgraced coach that came on the heels of layoffs and cuts at Kansas.
He won 3 of 21, 22 football games. That's abysmal, and he got a 7-figure paycheck.
He got a 7-figure paycheck, and he gets that again at the end of the university, coming off an $11 million budget cut, and then the height of the pandemic.
The NCAA started collecting information on these severance payments in 2005. We analyzed the database of 235 public universities kept by Syracuse University. What we found since the 2004-05 school year, universities have paid these fired coaches more than $1.1 billion in contract buyouts. $1 billion for coaches not to work. The most Auburn, nearly $48 million. Nebraska, Tennessee, Kansas, Texas, and Florida have all paid out more than $30 million. Most of that money going to fired football coaches.
Is college athletics out of control?
Well, I think so. I think the model itself is irretrievably broken.
We requested the contract of every major college football coach in the country and received more than 100 of them. At Indiana, head coach Tom Allen's contract includes a $14.5 million buyout. Illinois' Brett Bielema and Houston's Dana Holgerson, nearly $29 million combined.
Well, it's pretty crazy. We still have to remember these are institutions of higher learning, right? And I think it just shows that the labor is grossly undercompensated. Nobody is going to watch the players, exactly. Nobody is going to watch any of those coaches, right?
Big buyouts costing universities big bucks, all in the search for gridiron glory.
How many jobs could be saved by when you're paying these coaches this money, right? If we're letting someone go who makes $40,000 to $50,000 to $100,000, but we're paying $35 million out, right, over this time period, it's absurd and it's unjust.
Some backers of athletics say these buyouts are largely funded by private donors, but critics say no matter the source, money not spent on buyouts is money that could be spent somewhere else.
Chilly start to the morning here at 6:11 on this Friday. Let's take a look at those temperatures, and you'll see 40s and 50s out there. Irvin now down to 40. They're going to be in the 30s before too long. They've dropped 2 degrees in the last hour or so. So again, just bear with it. Clintwood now down to 41. They're fighting for the coldest spot in the region there this morning. A lot of places still in the mid to upper 40s, and we're hanging on to 50 at Jackson and Somerset for the moment. 20 to 25, almost 30 degrees colder this morning in most areas across our region. That is crazy to see. But again, we're going to continue to watch that to see how we pan out at Jackson by about 7 or 8 o'clock. And we'll kind of put out on social media where we ended up with how fast it dropped and how much it dropped since they got to 91, tying a record on a Wednesday afternoon. For your planner today, sunshine across the board after the morning chill. Still going to be a beautiful day. Get out there and enjoy it. 6:12 is your time. You're watching Mountain News This Morning right here on WYMT.